you listen to any new music this weekend?
Bill Murray over and over and over again.
Same. Oh my god. Do you know how many reaction requests I've made of that?
Oh, I don't doubt it.
I bet you I've spent $100
Really?
on like $5 requests. And so my main thing is people forget that it's a visualizer and they're like, why does it just keep looping? I'm like, 'cause it's just a visualizer. Like, don't worry about it. They like think it's a music video.
Oh.
They're like, why? Like, what does he keep looking back at? Like, is it about he can't like look away? I'm like, you're looking too far into it. It's like it's a TikTok video, like just on repeat, basically. Yeah. But so it's if they get upset about that, then I'm not saying I'll say something because it's all my friends, but I laugh. And if they miss the eagle at the end, yeah, can't miss the eagle.
Eagle's
at the end.
Important.
Beyonce has a song that starts off with "I swear to God, the same eagle."
Maybe it's the same producer.
I got so happy when I heard it.
He's like, so I was on a little bit of a Bill Murray kick, partly because that Acura I was driving had a banging sound system.
Nice. How do I look on that screen?
Good.
Like kind of lit up.
Yep.
Okay.
I kind of feel like, no, yeah, that's right. I gotta get bigger shoulders.
Me too.
Anyway.
We gotta get a camera crew in here.
Yeah, unreal.
All right, let me start you off with a little something special here, Kev. Just gonna listen to a little song, and then I have a little video to start, and then we'll get into our little convo, and then we'll start with some mixing.
Why is it all little? We got a little video, a little song, we got a little podcast,
a little something.
We'll have our little talk. Wow,
not bad, right?
That's pretty cool.
My friend Jordan, shout out to Jordan, said that Dolly asked, Beyonce warned.
Yeah, that was some threats in there.
Yeah. I loved it though.
Yeah.
The whole record, I don't know why it's for sure one of my top favorites. It's like a whole project. It just felt like very synergetic, I guess. The whole thing just flows into the next one nice. Like she sounded like she was singing her heart out. That was nothing. Like, you've seen enough to know that, like, yeah, man.
Yeah, it's a different thing for her.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like, she's doing runs that are complicated. She's showing her prowess as a singer for sure, but it's not with the same energy. It's like this interesting, like, relaxed and
confident.
I was gonna say wise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like her runs in there are just like, it's just like they've seen things. You know what I mean? Like and it's cool to hear that side of her because it's not like she's trying to be like, I don't know. Beyonce has this like thing where she can be the most powerful, right? Like she has this demonstrative voice potentially, and she does that a lot in the hip hop things. Whereas in this, it's like really, it's still intricate, but it's restrained, and that's what I mean. It's like that.
The like weight of it, or the intricacy of it comes from like the weight of it and like the emotion of it, like that. I know for a fact I could not deliver that same style of performance because I just don't have something that I could like connect that much to her. I don't have the practice of connecting my art that much. And she's showing that it could be still notes, and she's still like, I will cut you. So
it's sharp.
What I thought was really interesting about this, and I'm gonna play one more. This is the first time that I feel like they took Beyonce's voice and changed it to be closer from the production side to the feature artist. Instead of having the like hyperbolic voice of Beyonce and how they capture her, and then try to make another recording sound as big. And it just sometimes doesn't feel as cohesive to me. Whereas this way it feels like Beyonce's voice, still Beyonce's voice, it's massive. Like it's got so much characteristic. But like from like the recording standpoint, it's like they've made it sound like she's in the other person's studio rather than they brought you to her studio. It's kind of the only subtle difference that I really noticed.
Well, that to me is like the nod of it. You know, like the respect to what it was. Because like, I don't know. I think sometimes like you can do like there's a cover where it's like you're bringing it into your world, and there's like an homage or like paying respect to. And I feel like this one was more paying respect to.
Yeah.
If that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of the same way that Miley did it, where it's just like no, I understand the history and the significance of this, but Beyonce more, is bringing that into the lyricism. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to bring this into my world lyrically, but stylistically, I'm going to keep it toned the way that it would be.
Yeah.
Although it's the thing that I was going to ask you, did you hear the, like, obviously the riff of the main acoustic guitar? It's interesting to hear. That sounds more of an R&B guitar to me. Like there's a shimmer to the top end of it that I wouldn't have done. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And to make it sound more like Western almost is what you're saying?
No, like I would have done like dulled out old strings.
Oh, I see. I mean? They sounded like, okay. Like
but there's this like shimmery shine thing to it, which is really common in R&B. Like the acoustic guitar to just kind of like sing through.
It's almost like percussive a little bit.
And then they also had this other guitar that was strum guitar, kind of strum guitar, that they really treated very old and rustic sounding. And they moved that into a section to define a different section at one point, even though the other guitar was still there way down. And it was just interesting to hear it because it's just like the riff was played XYZ, but like the guitar that was picked would be in my head more, however they recorded it, would be more synonymous. You could put that in an R&B track, but it's just like a country riff, so it seems like it's kind of skating in there. Yeah. But then that other guitar was like distorted and really dull and just completely different. And it was just interesting choices to me. And like, they did that in a section where nothing had changed. Nothing changed in the section, but there was a different movement in the vocal line. So all of a sudden the like shimmery guitar that was there got pushed aside. And even though the chord changes and almost nothing else had changed, but they brought this thing into view to define a different section, which I thought was really cool.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
I also don't think there's maybe one or two, maybe three songs that they use like your typical drum kit on, and the rest is all percussion things. And I'm thinking like right back to the washboard. I think they went right in on all that stuff. I think they did a great job of it.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. I like it.
Okay, I'm going to play this one, and you're going to hear what I mean with the vocal.
Okay.
Okay, because this is a duet now. It's muddy in that like 250, like a 58.
And that's like Telefunken-y.
She sings into a 257, so yeah.
Okay.
There you go. That's a Telefunken mic, y'all. Yeah.
All right, good job, ears.
Into an what's the silver preamp?
Avalon
preamp into an octo. Yeah, into an octo compressor. And the octo compressor is just an LA2A with an attack and release knob.
Oh, yeah.
So you're just doing the 1176 and the LA2A trick in one.
Who is that?
The blue one, the Pultec one.
Oh, the CL1B.
Yeah, that's the one. So that's her vocal chain.
Oh, okay.
257 into the Avalon into the octo compressor.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I've also seen her sing into a TLM 103 with just like a thick sheet beside her. So there are different times where I think she might have recorded in different places.
I'm guessing M49 rather than a TLM 103.
It was definitely a 103. It was really small.
Yeah,
with the silver band.
Yeah, but they make one. That's an M49 or something like that. It's like a little guy, it's like the series up.
When I watched the video, I had the TLM 103 here, and I was like,
that's probably it.
Yeah. So anyways,
well, I mean, who cares?
It doesn't really matter. It sounded like a Telefunken mic anyways, yeah. But like, you see what I mean though? Like the Telefunken mic has so much more to give, but it feels like they've kind of removed some of it so it matches the other voice more instead of trying to make Miley's voice sound way bigger than it actually is.
Right.
And I think you lose a little bit of that authenticity that they're going for. Yeah. That's what my thought is.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, because you can hear them both.
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were doing that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
And they do a lot of that too.
Oh, okay.
And it's interesting to hear them step out into some of the harmonies, and maybe they sang both of them, but I almost can't tell every once in a while who's who. Is that like, I think it's really interesting. It's cool hearing them on my in-ears now because I haven't, like, I just listened on these yesterday or 2 days ago, and I haven't heard on anything else. So.
If you had said, name two people that I don't think would ever do a duet and have it sound like they're just locked, it would be those two.
Sounds like they've been singing in a duo forever.
Forever together.
Forever.
That is locked in.
It makes me want to cry. Like I'm
assuming Beyonce sang second. Because that, I think she is, I think, glue in that.
Yeah.
I think probably Destiny's Child thing too.
Yeah, that's
you know
fair.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Like her ability to sink right into that vocal.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I'm guessing Miley can too. I'm not saying it's just exclusively Beyonce.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like talk about one more than the other or try to separate the two. Like they're both superstars in their own regards for all their own act.
They're so different.
I know.
And that just felt like home.
I know. It just feels like they grew up and they've been singing together forever.
That was really nice.
I know. Oh, bro, we're only a third of the way through. Like,
man, very cool.
Right?
Like,
man, we could just do this whole record like Post Malone too.
Which one?
She did a song with Post Malone.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Man, that's another one that Post Malone and whoever that country dude is. That tune of theirs, like
I know what you're talking about.
I want some help or whatever that one is. That is a jam.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that's a well written tune.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's two of the new Beyonce songs.
Man, I mean, what would I expect? I mean,
so she apparently wrote that each song. I think there's 23 of them, inspired by like old Western and country films. Which gave me the idea of what I texted you.
I like that.
And I just thought that was amazing.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's like songwriters in general need to find inspiration from things. Some people are visual.
You know what I came to the conclusion on the other day? I didn't realize how shut off my inspired side was. I didn't realize how deep that ran. And like I would see videos of people just like getting inspired by something and just think it was the most amazing thing ever. And then I realized I was like, that's probably just like art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I was just like, it's like I got to do more things that inspire me.
Well, I mean, inspiration is a hard one.
Yeah.
Because like it's unsafe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a I'm not going to go down that road. Let's talk about something else. Here, I got a video for you. Welcome, everybody. What episode are we on now? 33?
Sure.
Sure, something like that.
Some number.
If anyone's been paying attention. Shout out to everybody at home. Shout out to everybody on Spotify. Our music segment's free on Patreon right now until they're not. Come check them out, y'all. Come check them out. Okay, we got a great show lined up for you today, and it's going to start off with some fantastic wisdom here from our friend Max Martin.
Oh, okay.
I actually don't know Max Martin, but here we go.
Suddenly, for a few years, the hits didn't keep coming as easily as they did. The Sharon sound became sort of dated to copied, and you closed down the Sharon studio.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about those years? It's like 2000, 2001, 2002 maybe. How were those years from your point of view?
Well, first of all, my daughter came to life. So that changed, life in a way. But I also came to a point, because we were doing so well. We were totally dominating and all of that stuff. Went through the whole, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, NSYNC, and Celine, whatever, Robin, and all of that stuff. So I came to a place where I realized that then music changed. Pharrell came, ruined it all, crashed my party.
Oh, that's great.
I literally thought that, this is terrible. I mean, don't you hear it? This is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a bomb starting the chorus, and so those years I learned that I was wrong. I was so wrong, and that the world had, like you said, the world moved on, which it should. In that's what popular culture is about, to move on and.
Wise words from the man himself.
Yeah.
But he mentioned something earlier where he said that he battled. He said he felt that he was right and the world was wrong.
Yeah.
And it's tough, especially when like you have someone like one of the most decorated songwriters and vocal producers ever. And he's like, I keep doing the thing and it's not working anymore. Like, what is going on here? Like,
and the weird trapping of the ego of you're doing a thing and you get success from the thing, and that happens over and over and over again. And then,
like he said, he was dominating. Yeah, that's an understatement.
Oh, it's definitely an understatement.
Dude, wait until you see his playlist I lined up today. Like, it is wild.
It's stupid, man. Yeah. Like his catalog is stupid. And like when after he had that slump or whatever, it came back.
Oh yeah,
like he
talked about that, and I'll talk about that too.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like how deceptive can that be to oneself, where like you're putting something out into the world and the world affirms that you were right over and over and over again.
Millions of times at a time where it's physical.
Yeah. And like the dollar amount would be probably the easiest way of making it like register in your brain, because like as resource or whatever, it's like, okay, well, the dollar amount of success that I'm producing within the world, obviously I'm right and everyone else is wrong, because look at all of the financial reasonings or whatever reasonings, but just like your brain gets tricked. It's kind of like that thing of like, say you were hunting, right? And it's like every year you go out to the same spot and you find the perfect deer or whatever. And it's like you get that success every single time. So you think, okay, I'm always going to be successful here. It's like your brain and your body just confirm that over and over again. And then all of a sudden the deer move and you go out and you go hungry. And it's like he gets to experience a big scale version of that where like literally the whole world was telling him he was right until he needed to evolve and he didn't.
Yeah. Which I think is like super interesting, man. And like, so you said something that I thought was kind of a shining point to this whole interview, was he said that he got too comfortable writing songs on piano. So he challenged himself. So he moved to guitar and then quickly moved to ukulele. And he said there was less options.
Constraints.
Yep. And I thought that was really interesting. So a couple of songs, I should have wrote down which ones they were, but they were like back burners, something he was working on. The guitar playing wasn't very clean. He couldn't really sing very good and play guitar at the same time. And he'd like play it for someone and they'd be like, that's it. And he'd be like, really? And they'd be like, yeah, that's the one. And he'd be like, I hadn't felt that excitement since like before his slump, right? So, and I just thought that was so interesting. It's like you do have to work a little bit.
Well, and like the thing that caused the creativity in the early adoption of the success was probably still that feeling. And then you keep repeating the thing rather than searching for the feeling of like, I wonder if this is right. I wonder, like, I'm kind of the uncertainty of the success portion.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just keep repeating the same thing over and over again, it's like, yeah, okay. But like a saw blade dulls out, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Saw blade's a saw blade until it's dull. And then all of a sudden you got to change out to a new saw blade.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, I don't know, to get into the Covey stuff of like sharpen your saw. Like if you're not constantly searching for that discomfort, that uniqueness, that, discomfort, I guess.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Like, 'cause if he's putting something out there and going like, is this good? That's probably the right kind of humility.
The concern for that is like what you like, you know, I put my heart into this and it's a risk and I feel good about it. I want to show someone, but I'm like the worry or whatever shows like a level of care, right? Yeah.
The other thing that's hard though is like he became the guy that the companies went to give them financial success.
Yeah.
Like think about that responsibility.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, hey, we have this artist.
You're going to feed hundreds of people from this next song you're going to write.
Oh, no. Tens of thousands, because you have to remember it's not just one company, it's everything outside of it. It's all radio, it's all touring, it's all people that are plugging in lights, people that are tearing tickets.
Did you know that Hit Me Baby One More Time went to #1 on in every country on the world?
Oh, of course. Of course. How could it not?
Yeah. Apparently he didn't know that either. The interviewer like celebrated with him and he was like, "Oh, I didn't know." It's
yeah.
Like, wow. I'm sure he had a thought.
It was something different. It was something different, man.
I have that CD.
Yeah?
Yeah. Not even like as like a recent thing. I have that CD. That's how popular it was.
I never had that. I had the Backstreet Boys tape.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do you know who Pino Palladino is?
Yes.
Bass player?
Yes.
He played on Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Wow, really? I think you know what? You told me that and that's why I know who that is. Yep. Because I remember.
Also, that blew my mind that there was musicians.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You know what was really interesting was like how simple he wants everything to be.
Yeah.
But he's like, everything has to be impactful. He's like, by the first 2 seconds, if you don't know the song, you've missed.
Yeah.
And he talks about like by 40 seconds, you have to get to the chorus or the hook. And it's like, he was talking about an attention deficit in music in the late 90s or early 2000s. And it's like, man, that has only gotten more and more true.
Well, they were talking about that with the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was because TV came out, radio came out, and their attention span was so low that they had to get into these 2-minute songs.
That's so
2-minute
wild.
songs were really common.
Oh yeah, and punk, everything was 2 minutes.
Well, no, before then, Beatles too.
Well, I argue
Like
that Beatles moved into punk and inspired punk, but yes.
Yeah, no,
I see what
you're
you're
absolutely
saying.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But it's this like, you know, we had in our generation coming up, it was like this 3-minute and 30-second song.
Yeah.
That was what our head was. And it was because they were timing for radio.
Or 410.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, 410
With
for
the
ballads.
fades, yeah.
Yeah. But now it's like, I think it's kind of drifting back. Like both Bill Murray songs that we are just loving right now are 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
But they don't feel like it.
Nope. They feel like you got exactly what you needed to get.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually think that that's the magic to the Max Martin songwriting.
Yeah, fair.
It gives you as much as possible in the smallest dose. And it's just like, we're going to give you 4 notes or 4 chords, but we're going to make them as big and shiny as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't know that he was a vocal producer. So when it comes to producing, he would work with singers to get the takes that he wanted for.
Well, he was Ace of Base, right?
Yes. Yeah. He was a mad singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I mean, those were jams. I had that tape too.
I've reacted to a couple of them, and I didn't have the tape, but my friend James did. Shout out to my friend James.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's unreal.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I find those people fascinating because it's one of those like, you're so alone on the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? And then you struggle with problems that people just don't understand.
Yeah.
And you know, much like we all feel like we're unique apart from other people, but like that level of success, that level of
Like, I have to write a $10 million song.
more than
I'm just picking numbers because I always go crazy with the numbers. So I'm just
that's
trying
fair.
to undershoot.
You know, it's just one of those things because that was physical copies, right? Like that was before Napster kind of took the wind out of high production, right?
Yeah. And LimeWire. That's what I had.
Yeah.
Shout out to my LimeWire
Morpheus.
users.
But it's like, I don't know. I just find all that stuff fascinating because it's like, as a person, as a human, and as like, you know, like a father, like he's dealing with normal problems, but he also is dealing with abnormal problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear from someone like that.
Yeah.
To, you know, have that concept of like, I was on the top of the mountain and then one dude killed it all for me.
Yeah.
You know, this perception of like, I had this one producer come in and all of a sudden everything was him before everything was me.
But that's like Mike Tyson or like, who's the Irish guy right now?
Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor. Yeah. He's Irish, right? I don't want to get beat up. Okay. But like that, you just have people on these mountains, and it's just like one day someone comes and knocks them off, and it's just like a shock to the world almost. Like, you know what I mean? But there's a period in time where, like, when Max Martin was out, and music kind of felt different for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it took time to get used to the change, right?
Well, and like, I don't know, it's cool to me, like all of the evolution, all the change, all that like vibe of flow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that energetic flow that seems to be moving in and out of like all industries. They all take this kind of like move, and I think the
ebb
people
and flow kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think the people that are super successful or become really successful no matter what the environment is are the people that can move. They don't let their preconceived notion of what should be define what they do.
Well, you know what, man? I make this argument lots where it's like, I don't mean to take a hot take on this either.
Take a hot take.
But when you see like entrepreneurs who run into like a hardship and then they just complain about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, didn't you get into being an entrepreneur because you wanted to, like, to take the heat? Like, you wanted to have to think on your feet?
I think most people know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and this is something that I mean, you probably know more about this world than I do, because I think there's a lot of people that want to start a business around a thing that they're passionate about. And then there's people that want to be entrepreneurs. And I think that's the person that you're talking about.
Because like I have friends who got absolutely railed during like lockdowns and everything because they had to pay a ton of money on their gym rent and their gym mortgage for all the equipment and all this stuff. And at like wholesale 70 cents a pound for a giant gym, like an 8,000 square foot gym, like I couldn't imagine the bills. And they had to eat that for months and months and months and months and months, right? So it's like, I don't think that there is something that they could have done to compensate for that. But if you're like a web designer and you're finding problems in like local shops hiring you for ads, it's like, what else can you use your skills for?
Well, it kind of depends as to what you mean by that, right? So like, yes, having to eat the costs and stuff like that, for sure. And I think the question would be, being able to pivot doesn't necessarily mean changing. Like being able to pivot means also weathering a storm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like,
I'm not saying you should change your whole business, but I'm saying like make some adjustments to weather the storm, right?
yeah, and
Put the masks away and get something else out, right?
well, like, so I remember when that stuff first happened, there was a bunch of businesses that just closed immediately.
Yeah.
Like a big one was like Le Chateau.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
Le Chateau folded because their whole business model was set up on one night of the year, which was December 31st. Being able to service dresses and suits and stuff for New Year's Eve and grad.
Yeah.
But since it was like no New Year's Eves, they folded all the stores immediately.
Wow, that is so interesting.
But that's what their whole business model was reliant on.
Yeah.
And most businesses do that, right? It's just like we have this thing that
I
is
guess
kind
we
of like
service
our
this
tentpole.
need.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then if that need's not there, then what do we do? Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And like, you could say that for what would be like, I mean, iPhone. I always drive back to iPhone. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Apple, if they get to a place where nobody buys iPhone 16, that's really bad for them. Mm-hmm. That's their tentpole is being able to constantly create a technological incentive to upgrade or to
new
get
battery, new camera, new screen.
There has to be something to propel that force forward. And if they're not consistently innovating in that market and they lose that tentpole, bad news for them.
Yeah.
Like billions and billions of dollars of bad news.
Oh, I bet.
And I think, part of their thing is being able to constantly be years ahead of this evolution and constantly being able to lay carrots in front of people to think, oh, I need the new thing. Mm-hmm. Being successful at it is a good thing. Mm-hmm. And that's part of innovation. But I think also it's one of those, like, you have to get to a place where no matter what the thing is, if the world changes or whatever, you can kind of like look at it objectively enough to move where you need to go. Mm-hmm. And that could mean staying. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That could mean doing the exact same thing. Max Martin could have been right. And Pharrell could have been a trend. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, it could have just gone back to him hitting home runs. Mm-hmm. It didn't. Mm-hmm. So then his ability to eventually become objective and change is going to be the thing that defines him as continually successful.
Well, and to loop it back to that interview, he said that like he was trying the same thing at the time and it wasn't working, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, it's tough.
And he could have stayed there.
Yeah, he could have just stuck it out.
It takes a humble
like
man.
all my 80s heroes that are still trying. Just know whenever I'm talking shit, it's based in my own opinions about my own music.
That's experience of working with those acts.
Yeah. Truth. That is a fact.
But it's,
God, because stories about that.
That's that's one of those things where like, do you want to be successful or do you want to be right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's more important to you to be right, well, success is kind of off the table.
I think there's a time and a place for that. We're seeing a lot of that in the news right now. I'm not going to mention any former rappers' names. There's a time to be successful and there's a time to be right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just think like if you really care about doing something well, humility is a part of that.
Yeah.
If you can't have humility a part of that, then you will never be to whatever you could have been.
Yep. And I think a part of the humility is understanding what the worth is too. You know what I mean? Because like if you think realistically, like if I offer something up for free, but I just won't be motivated to do it, then it's like, am I really truly from like a humility standpoint honoring myself? And I don't think I am, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like you have to be able to care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like, I don't know. If you can be doing something with care, then I think you're going to be good at it.
Yeah.
If the care leaves, whatever factor changed to make it so that you don't care anymore, or that portion of you is shut off in the experience, well, you're not going to keep doing it, and it's not going to be successful. Yeah. It's going to be disingenuous or whatever. It's going to be a speed bump.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. That's going to be a great segue into today's show here.
Speed bumps.
Speed bumps. No. So tell me about during the holiday season.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you navigate beefing with your relatives during the holiday season. It doesn't even have to be blood relatives. I'm talking like people who come around during the holidays.
I used to be really bad at that stuff.
In what sense? What does bad mean?
I was very closed off to my emotions, and I didn't have a very good ability to express myself when I was experiencing said emotions.
Okay.
So I struggled with not speaking up about things until I got to a point of anger, and then my anger was not. I was not experienced in expressing anger, so therefore it was overwhelming and it was inefficient, and what I would consider just like too much. You know what I mean? It's one of those, like, it's overpowering. Mm-hmm. It's overpowering my thought. I make no sense. I'm not actually expressing anything. I'm just off-gassing stored anger that I never became healthily acquainted to. Nowadays, I'm way more healthily acquainted. I still struggle sometimes with expressing myself because it's just not a practiced thing. But my understanding of listening to my anger as a point of helping me understand where a boundary of mine has been overstepped is better. So now I don't really beef in the same way, or at least I haven't. I'm sure I will, but I'm just a little bit better about speaking up when things initially bother me and just not
just like redirecting before it falls off course,
or just like making it aware. Like, because if somebody does something to me and I just bite my tongue, well, it's going to keep happening because I'll keep biting my tongue until all of a sudden I bite my tongue off and I'm angry.
Well, you are what you tolerate.
Yeah, exactly.
So if someone comes at you with something and you don't like it, but you don't say anything, then you're like, let's just say if you're a pushover in that situation, that becomes you, and now you're the pushover.
Yeah.
And people are going to continue to do that with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought part of that was like me not expressing when things bother me was a part of me keeping other people happy. And I realized that that's not. That is entirely just a devaluing myself end of things, because people don't tend to respond to those things poorly when you deal with them right away.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody steps on something or like does something to me that is out of line, if I quickly address it when I'm not emotional, it's way better. They take it way better. Everything's just more like better communication, because it's less about me trying to address them as a person, as a human being, and that kind of thing, more as like this is the behavior that I'm talking about, which is just people don't like thinking that they're a bad guy.
People don't like embodying whatever it is that like you're calling them out for. And especially like my language, like me being upset, say if you upset me, my language that I might be using might not be a depiction of your character. And so I shouldn't categorize you into those things, especially when I'm upset.
But it's hard to do that when you get more angry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? Like it becomes less about the specificity of something, because
my lizard brain kicks in right away and I just go to simple terms.
and like, I think the hard thing is like when you're really angry, it's usually because there's many things, and to deal with them individually with how angry you are will make you seem ridiculous.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's one of those like, you didn't offer me gravy. And it's like, oh, okay, well, this isn't about gravy.
Yeah.
This is about X, Y, Z, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the like dealing with them individually as they happen. Then the anger that comes along with it, or whatever your emotion is, makes more sense to the situation rather than just a buildup of 20 years of whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah,
every year it's the same.
Yeah. Everything's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that the better I am at keeping ahead of those types of things, the less like beef I get into, I guess I should say.
I got you.
And like part of the other side of it is just I accept people a little bit better.
The way they are.
Well, I'm not trying to change everybody anymore.
See, I'm not the type to like get upset at a conversation or something. It's got to be like something rooted in something I'm really upset about.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it, like the purpose or like the why of it has to be like really deep for me to like go into a situation being like this. I don't know how this is going to turn out, right? One of them being, I don't talk with a family member on, I won't mention whose side of the family, but one of them, and old Jesse would be like confrontational in like a comedic way. So if you and I were beefing at family dinner, I would just be your best friend. Oh my God, I would be annoying. And I'd be like making sure everyone could see like, oh yeah, that was my side of fun. But now I'm just like very like, that person isn't in the room. And it's like, I will be there for 3-4 hours and not even one breath taken in your direction. And to me, that just feels better.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's not like a resentment or like a hiding. Like I'm not I'm not hiding in bathrooms.
It's not changing your operation.
It's not changing me at all. It's just like it just feels like there's one less person in the room, or 2 less people in the room, or whatever the situation is. So
yeah, I get that.
I'd rather that than, because I know, man, I'm just gonna speak without thinking. I do that all the time, and then I start realizing who's around me.
I mean, yeah, I can see it, and like to try and avoid difficulty is not necessarily a bad thing. Keeping the peace, all that kind of deal.
Because I can come home and put on some Bill Murray and feel better.
Yeah, fair.
Right.
Well, and like part of that is the acceptance of like they're going to be that way.
Yeah.
So why would I try and?
I just wouldn't engage with that person, like with that behavior, whether it was family or not. And like I've talked about that lots, man. Like blood means a lot, but blood doesn't mean anything, if that makes sense. And
yeah, you still gotta be human.
Well, I have lines, and maybe those lines are further back for like close family and relatives, but you're still a line, right?
That was really well said. I liked that.
Yeah.
I got lines, but my lines are further back for family.
Yeah.
That was interesting because like a lot of people do that, and their line is just way too far back.
Yeah,
they got to bring that line up, man.
No. And like okay, let's be real about this. When I draw those lines, I make it aware though. Like the situation being like this weekend, like I told my family, like, listen, I do not tolerate this, and this is the situation I'm in. So like, I'm cool to have a good Easter, but like this is where it stands, right? And it's just, I think that's fair.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's communicating a healthy boundary.
Yeah.
A lot of people just are also not super healthy mentally. So when somebody communicates a healthy boundary, they don't know what that is for themselves.
Yeah.
So when it happens to them, they go, "Whoa, what? This isn't normal.
Yeah.
You're the problem." Like all this like weird emotional reaction stuff.
I don't understand the like confrontation of me just like drawing a line, like because like I don't yell. Like I could be like, hey man, like one is things with like intelligence, like dumb and stuff like that. Like someone will be like, oh, you're dumb, and I'll just be like, yo, like just don't say that. Like I just don't tolerate you putting me into that category. Yeah. And I know you're joking, and a lot of people like will send me a message right after that, be like, oh, that's dumb, and I just won't respond. Like I'm talking for years, I just won't respond. This is just a tolerance thing.
Yep.
I say that to myself enough, and I don't tolerate anyone else saying it. So and it's just like if I address that right out of the gates, like you're saying, then usually it's cool. But a lot of people are like, why are you coming after me like that? Why are you being such an asshole? Yep. I'm like, what are you talking about? All I said was like, hey man, like just don't call me dumb or stupid. And then we just carry on. Some people take it so personally.
No, it's because they have a hard I'm guessing it's because they have a hard time drawing those boundaries for themselves.
Yeah.
And
or they've never been around people who have drawn boundaries in front of them.
That's what I mean.
Like you got
because like they're gonna have that reaction to anybody doing that, right?
Yeah.
So they're not gonna tend to keep those people around. You know what I mean? Because if it causes them that much discomfort, they're gonna just simply shy away from that behavior, and because it's gonna press on whatever button. Usually, it's from like an internal sense of I'm not doing this for myself, and therefore when I see someone else doing it, it hurts me because I know that I need that.
Yeah.
That's like the fascinating thing about us is like a lot of our like jump to emotion or whatever is usually because we should be helping ourselves some way that we're not currently. And then the emotion comes out of that like, well, I'm not sticking up for me, so how could you stick up for you?
Yeah.
That kind of crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or like I take care of myself by being self-deprecating. So when you don't do that, like it's separating, I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We do that in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
Like the things that we know are good for us and we need to be doing and we aren't. And when someone else is doing it, we feel shame.
Yeah.
Because we have a deep awareness of the fact that we are letting ourselves down. And unfortunately, the only way to stop doing that is to stop letting yourself down.
Yep.
As soon as you come out of that and you start sticking up for yourself and whatever you're missing out on, well, then those things don't bother you as much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just is what it is there.
Yeah. That's interesting. I like that. I was expecting that to get a lot more heated, but that was a good way of handling that conversation. Yeah.
Well, you know, I try and only get heated about things I really need to.
Yeah.
Because if I'm getting heated, I know I'm not dealing with something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
It's a healthy outlook.
that's the way that I always kind of look at it is like if I'm not happy in some area, then my relationship with me in that area needs attention. It's way less about the other person.
Yeah.
And because I can't do anything about the other person.
Yep.
Like I used to try. I used to try and fix everybody and, you know, all those kinds of things.
It's people trying to convince comment sections why they're wrong and thinking your point is wrong. Like it's just, you can't move that.
No.
You can reflect on it and you can take like, oh, like if this is coming across this way, maybe I can reiterate something a little differently to get my point across better. Like you can take it like that. But yeah, you think you don't take things personally until you get over it again. And then you go, wow, I was taking that personally.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always areas that will be surprising and new areas of like, oh shit, okay, well, my bad. Guess I got to work on that.
Here's a topic for you. What do you think of covers as a whole?
Oh,
I mean, we just listened to Jolene.
It's an interesting thing. I like covers sometimes. I don't like covers for the sake of covers. Like I don't know.
Like if you're gonna put it on YouTube, I don't want it to be like the bar band cover where you're trying to play it true.
I don't want it to be about the person.
Okay.
Like, I want it to be about what they made.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Kind of, but elaborate.
So like, okay, it's gonna sound weird, but like, I think there's an energy of a cover, which is like, look at me, how awesome I am, and then there's the like, look at what I made. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's like a separation that can be involved in it.
So I guess like if I'm singing a song just because it's got this dope high note in it, and I know like if I did a cover of Dream On, aside from Dream On being a dope song, everyone's waiting to see what I do with that high part.
Yeah.
And if I'm like a badass at that high part and I put in some big flexy section in that section alone, then it's like it's too much about me.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I pick a song, like say if it's like Yesterday and I sang it because my dog passed away yesterday, and now I'm hoping for yesterday and I'm connecting to this. It's like it's just as big, if not a bigger song, but it now has purpose, now has reason.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe what I'm trying to lay out is like there's the like ego version of it, and then there's like the emotion version of it of like I'm taking something and reinterpreting it through the way that I feel, and I like that. I tend to vibe with that quite a bit, and even if that is like I'm gonna make it silly, you know what I mean? Like
Our Last Night.
Or like Weird Al Yankovic, man.
Yeah, okay,
You know
fair
what I mean?
enough. Yeah.
Like I think that's hilarious.
I've been singing Weird Al all week. That's so funny that
Nice.
you brought that up. Yeah. Holy shit.
But like that to me is like he's a comedian and he's doing comedy, and it's less about like look at how awesome I am. It's more about like look what I'm creating, and it's with respect to the artist, but I'm also creating this comedic interpretation of the thing because of how he feels.
Interesting.
And I like that. And same with the Our Last Night one is kind of like, how can we make this heavy?
Because you and I go like that, we consider that funny.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous.
Yes.
But like, see, to me, and I don't know anything. I've never even watched an interview about Our Last Night. But like for me, I'd be like, man, we got this dope thing going on. How do we get people to see this? And then it would be like, anchors almost. I called it as clickbait once, but that was just the wrong phrasing, even though it is kind of the same thing.
It is.
But like,
it's like this thing is successful and we'll get clicks, and therefore I'm going to use that.
Yeah, but there's got to be like
what I have.
There's got to be like a happier adaptation to that word.
I mean, I think people dismiss it as though that clickbait is some sort of like flippant thing, but think about what that
it's
is,
just
right?
Marketing.
And it means that it's
successful marketing.
Thank
right?
you. Yeah. Successful. Like bait, you only use bait to catch fish, right? Like it's to get the result up because you did it well.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not getting clickbait because you suck at things, right? Like if you're going to do a clickbait thing and then the thing sucks, well, okay, there's no reason to do it.
Or like if you're going to that extreme, it's like I don't want to hear a straight up creation of Toxic by Britney Spears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to hear a heavy rock and roll version of it. And that beat is crazy on that song.
Well, and it's to show some uniqueness, right?
Yeah, like take something, be inspired by it, and show me why it's yours now.
So maybe it's because like we have multiple different avenues of what clickbait could be. You know what I mean? Because like clickbait news, we associate that with like a salacious headline with no meat to the article.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we're kind of like, that's why we have this like poor interpretation of the word. But it's like if you're using clickbait and you have something good on the other end of it, well, that's marketing.
See, and like the argument would be like what's valuable to me might not be valuable to you, but if I can spin it as being valuable, I really think we need to change corporate America to going back to value. Not being so much about the bottom line. It needs to be back to value.
I would agree with you. I think you're going to have a hard time winning that argument with most people. Yeah. Because value has higher cost.
Well, yeah, and not to mention value is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Have I ever just shown you that? Like how there's 3 purchasing languages? Product, price, or service.
Yeah.
And like you're typically only one or the other. And it's really interesting. Like I will pay so much money for a service. I won't pay any money for a product just about.
Yeah.
I'll find a way to get around it. I'll find a way to do it my way or something. But for a service, bro, like I will pay stupid amounts of money.
Oh, like when I'm talking to people about vehicles, like that's literally what I ask.
Yeah.
I'll just say like, okay, so is it the right car?
Yeah.
Okay, so are we treating you well?
Yeah.
Okay, so is the price?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, it's the price. So let's see if we could get the price better. What's better? Like,
what are you looking for?
Well, what's the holdup, right?
Yeah. But see, the value in that should be like, it sucks that everyone thinks, especially with the car salesman, everyone thinks that you're out to get the other person.
Yeah.
But it's
and
like
I have to do a lot of prefacing to let them know that I'm not.
Oh, and I bet. And you have to overcome like the already false narrative of them being like, this guy's just going to try to get my money. And I think, you know what? I think that that's like a good metaphor into the covers thing, because it's like, if you're going to do something that gets you all that attention, you better come with it. You know what I mean? Like, there better be that meat and potatoes on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, that's where I like covers, because it allows people to have like so I kind of look at it like inspiration, right? Like, no, they're not doing a lot of the work of writing the song. It's not their own creative inception of things. But, you know, we were just talking about Max Martin writing songs for other people. Technically, everybody that's performing his songs is doing a cover.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
They're not
in their own performance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
that's fair.
You know, the creation of the art after the fact is not necessarily disingenuous. It's their connection to it and blah, 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 blah. And all those other things that come with creating an art form.
That's actually a really good point. Holy shit, we're jumping around here. But, and that, I'll put that Max Martin documentary in the thing, but he was talking about doing a song with Pink, and they only had about 3 hours left. And she was like, well, what else you got? And so they kind of like played up something. They had drums for it. They tracked drums, and then she sang it through. But like the last like minute and a half, it was just drums, and she just sang it. All the ad libs and all the like parts and everything I have for the playlist. And she just did that, and then was like, okay, see ya. And then they built the rest of the song around that.
Yeah.
And I just went like, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, when we're talking about the best working with the best. Yeah. So if you want to classify it as a cover, she made it her own. It was her performance. You can't write that into music. But
and there's nothing wrong with that by any sense.
No.
Like, performance is half of the thing, right? Like, I can write a song, but I can't necessarily perform it as well as another performer.
That's fair.
Right? Like, and not to mention, like, I could write a song that has an emotional connection to me.
Yeah.
But someone else might read it and have a different emotional connection to them that it's stronger than the emotional connection to me.
Yeah. That was my next question.
For them to do it.
Do you have any covers you like better than the original?
Well, I mean, "Hurt" by Johnny Cash is my the one that I always think of, where it's just like, oh God, this is the
Brilliant.
song now.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of, like, you know, when you like songwriters back in the day, like I know that the Wilson Pickett, a lot of his songs, like your Mustang Sally and Hey Joe.
See, there's a lot of covers that I don't know are covers.
Yeah.
And like, I don't mean to discount any of those, but like, it just happens. Like, my musical history is not that in depth. And it's something that I really want to work on, because I'm actually like kind of self-conscious about it.
Well, but, I mean, I just think there's a limit to human knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, we're not meant to be encyclopedias.
I've been out of music for so long, aside from the last couple of years. Like, I've been out of music for like 10 years.
Well, I mean, when I had my conversation with Benda, it was like, I was talking about things that were always a decade old.
Yeah. You probably like that.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those, like, that's where my head stuck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, my head and all of the things that I was really excited about was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And that's where my head is stuck.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those, like, you know, he's talking about all these new things that are happening, and it's like, yeah, right, for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
whatever you say.
Yeah, I'll go listen to those. Yeah. But, like, you know, we are I don't know where I was heading with that, but it was just one of those, like, that's where my head was stuck, and that's what I'm stuck in.
That's okay.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I like covers.
There are songs that I like the original way more. There's a lot of them, but there are a lot of covers that I like too.
Yeah, I agree. And like, you know, a
lot of covers I'm fucking sick of. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that.
Leave it to the originals.
I think it's hard to create a good cover.
Yeah. Do you remember when they were doing, like, I know that Kanye and everybody was taking like old hooks and like boosting them way up, pitching them way up. But do you remember when they were actually taking like actual song choruses as they were and putting them in like rap and pop songs?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that bothered me too.
Really?
Not for any reason other than like I just felt like it didn't fit. It felt like there's all kinds of documentaries about 50 Cent talking about writing rap songs like songs, and that I vibe with. It's just like when you have "Give a Little Bit" by Supertramp beside like another rap verse, it's just like it's so different for me that I can't relate the two. And I'm also the guy to talk about how a rapper reminds me of a boxer or a concert snare drum player. So I do a lot of that cross stuff, or R&B and metal, the similarities that I see in those. But every once in a while, there was just a couple that was just like too much.
No, I get that. And I think the difficult thing too is like a lot of rappers are really good at verses, bars, and creating a hook. Not a lot of them are like huge in that area, right? Like creating a hook is another thing.
Or a hook and a chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because like the hook thing is kind of reminiscent of the Max Martin thing, where it's like you only have 5 or 6 words to make the most impact possible. So it's like, how do you do that in a hook, right?
Yeah.
Especially with like, no dig at any of the rappers that I love, but like when they're penning their hearts out in these verses and then the chorus has to change, it's like sometimes you don't have as many words, especially if you structure it like a song.
Yeah.
You have to fit it into the melody or like the other things that come before the words now, right?
Yeah, it creates a whole different world of issues. Then you can collaborate with another recorded song. I think there's tasteful ways of doing it, and I think there's not so tasteful ways.
Yeah. I agree with that. Anything else you want to touch on those? You want to go into music?
What's number 2?
Dream music job. So I spent time because we were talking about Max Martin maybe being a producer, maybe just doing the songwriter. It turns out he's like a vocal producer, and I hope I'm not understating that. We were talking about Bendeth being a mixer producer. So I'm just saying, like, what would your dream job be? If it was just like, hey man, like here's a studio, here's all the money you need, we got artists flowing through, you just like pick your position, and then we're gonna hire all the other ones. I think vocal producer would be pretty cool. I like vocalists though. But then I would like drummers and I would like bass players. So maybe just producer.
I mean, oh man, that's tough.
Because the mixing and shit I vibe with it, but I get more fun from like the environment of it. I like putting my little 2 bits in, but then I like when you're mixing. Like,
I think for me, I had this is gonna sound bad.
No, let it out.
When I was younger, I didn't trust anyone.
When I was a young warthog. Yeah.
No, I was very untrustworthy with people and their abilities. I thought I had to do everything, almost always. And I don't think I have that the same way now. Part of it was being able to go down to Nashville and experience like
being humbled,
high level stuff.
Yeah.
But I just think I see more value in different people now. So I think like my knee jerk would be like, oh, I need to write the song, I need to perform it, I need to do all the things. That's like my knee jerk reaction. But I think if it were me, just a dream job, I think it's really cool to just sit down and mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just want everything engineered, handed out, laid out for you, and you're just going to do all the final touches, put it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think it would allow me to look at music a little differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Rather
than like a puzzle or something, I think like,
that removes the we'll do it in post.
Yeah.
It's done. It's done. Yeah. And like, you know, if we had that hypothetical studio and I was vocal producing for someone, let's do the conversation we had a few episodes ago. I had Tom DeLonge in the studio. I got the spitty vocal out. And I know I'm not mixing it. I'm just going to try to get the most of that performance and get the best I can out of Tom.
Yeah.
And then when you get it, like there's the project. You can't tell him to settle down on the sibilance.
Yeah.
There it is. You just got to mix the thing, right?
Well, and I think it's cool to be able to like pull up stuff and go like, oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. And be able to use like my own interpretation of what I like about it in order to get out the thing that like the way that I view the picture. I think that's pretty cool. Whereas like before of like, okay, I got to assemble the picture and then I would get it to somebody else and then I wouldn't like what they did with the picture. And then I would be like really control-y. Like for me, the only guy that like when we did the acoustic EP, like Bobby mixed that perfectly.
So good.
Perfectly.
Yeah.
Like I could not have given him and he did it in 2 cracks.
Wow.
Like he did the first pass and then we gave him some notes and second pass and it was done. And I was like, get out of town, man. Like you just nailed this.
Yeah.
Just everything needed to be the way that it needed to be.
Yeah.
And that was really cool for me to be able to be like, oh, I can trust this person to get out the thing better than what I knew how to do it. And I want, like, for me, I would like to be able to be that because I like that idea of like, here, take this rock and polish it. You know what I mean? Like find the diamond. I think that's cool.
Like I made this really cool chunk of coal.
Yeah.
I put my heart and soul into it. I want you to carve it for me.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of who was the sculptor that said like he saw the angel in the marble. He just set it free.
Yeah.
That reminds me
It's
of that.
so cool to me. And like, now, the thing that sucks is like you need to get to a place where the things that you're getting are actually contain diamonds.
Yeah.
But like, I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea of like taking something and going like, okay, well, how do I make this the coolest that it is? Like whatever the greatness is that's in this, how do I show that to people?
Yeah.
I love that idea.
See, and this is something that like those of y'all that have made it this far, I know y'all are like dedicated and stuff. So, but like I've been asking and I've been receiving indie artists ever since my little tyrant I went on 2 weeks ago about that show I mixed, and I've been getting a ton of them, man. And I can't wait to start rolling through them. And my feedback is going to be very different than a lot of people's because to me, man, it's like if it sounds like it was recorded on cheap preamps, that doesn't disqualify it for me. You know what I mean? And like I've heard things where it's like the guitar sounds great. I could tell that it was recorded on like a Kemper or a really nice guitar amp, but then the vocal was just like it was what we had. But again, that doesn't discount it for me.
Yeah.
Like it's like, did you connect? Are the lyrics clear? Like, are they to the point? Did I register with them? And it's like we could talk about mixing and stuff, but like I can't convince you. I'm not going to try to convince you to buy a whole new rig to do the thing. It's just like, can we make the best of what you have?
Well, and if you have a great performance,
it
who
speaks,
cares
bro. It
about
speaks.
the rest of it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
My friend Gary Ramsey, man, he's got some really, really cool songs. And like, I don't know how he records them. I don't know what the process is. But like, it's just the way that he performs them. It just really shines through. And I think it's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it's really exciting.
You know, like when it comes down to it, like when there's genuineness or genuine connection or genuine emotion or whatever it is, it can be the worst sounding thing and people can adore it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and you know, I think that it must be in that performance thing. Cause like I said, like if the audio is bad, but I can tell that you're connecting to something, then that's your performance into the bad audio. And yeah, I don't know. I appreciate that a lot more now.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd be probably more production.
Yeah. I think I would have to be in the production. And I like, there's the nerd in me wants to be a part of all of it. Right.
No, I get it. Cause we love all of it.
Oh yeah. Like
Everything about it. We just like, yeah, this is awesome.
But I think like, especially like today, like say if it just like, here it is, right? I don't think I would want to mix because I think it would be a lot of fun to do on the side. But like, I like going to a Kevin mix and going like, y'all like, check this out. Like that makes me excited. So I think that, yeah, I think being a part of like the production or pre-production would be where I would have to sit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that in you. You have this like,
I can make people feel comfortable, I think.
well, and like you value that energy, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like that, and you have a really big passion for that, and that connection and that genuineness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The camera is about to die, so I'm gonna take a quick pause here, and then we'll just finish up the Spotify stuff and the Patreon stuff after.
Do it.
Okay, YouTube, love y'all. Check us out on the other spots; they're all free right now. One day they won't be.
Yeah.
One day, I don't know when, but love y'all. Appreciate y'all. See you on the next one.
Peace.
Yeah, let's plug in the camera for a little bit, and then we can pull up some mixes. See how that looks.